most influential current leaders in this country, certainly throughout the pandemic, very popular. Emperor in some respects, they call him over in the West. Mark McGowan going to be calling it a day.
That's the speculation here, Kieran, and we have to assume this is reasonable speculation, because what I'm going to show you now is a tweet from the editor of the West Australian. Now, I doubt the editor of the West Australian would put their job on the line over this. So a massive news, says Anthony De Segli, and a report that he is about to stand down, and that is to happen within the next half hour. And this is just incredible if it is the case. Ben Wyatt was the treasurer and seen as the heir apparent. He retired at the election. Mark McGowan has been so dominant that he reduced the Liberal Party in the state parliament to 2 seats in an election we covered, just gutted them completely. His popularity, including during shutting the border of the state, Kieran, is just unparalleled, really. And you have this situation where he may well be calling it a day. He's been Premier for 6 years. I recall interviewing him not long ago, and he suggested he'd be there for a while, said he's not interested remotely in federal politics or that sort of move. So if this is indeed the case and he's about to call it quits, it is truly a shock. I mean, one might expect that
his leadership had a big impact, not just in WA, as you well know, and our viewers would know. It had a massive impact on the federal election. It boosted Labor's stocks.
That's a very good point. It's a very good point. And the other thing that's been said about it, Kieran, is that one of the reasons WA is in favour of The Voice is, in terms of polls at the moment, is because Mark McGowan backs it. So you're right. This will have a real effect if it's the case that he is retiring, not only on state politics but federal politics. I think one person who won't be too stoked about this, for example, would be the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Because, without a leader with such massive popularity, whoever replaces him, and there's a view, I think, in Western Australia, there is no ready-made replacement, they'll struggle to give Labor that kind of aura, if you like. And I think that's a suitable word that Mark McGowan has been able to give that party in that state. People were getting tattoos with Mark McGowan's face on them. It was crazy. It's ridiculous. I mean, I'm really uncomfortable with this sort of thing in Australia, by the way. I thought it was over the top. I thought all the pandemic premiers got more credit than they deserved. It's a pretty simple, blunt instrument to shut a border. Anyone in charge would have done that.
Well, just in terms of that point you make about the COVID leadership and COVID period, this is 6 years. He hasn't been in office for more than a decade. It's been 6 years, but I guess those COVID years were like dog years in a respect. You know, it took a lot out of many of our leaders.
Yeah, you still got Andrews and Palaszczuk hanging around though, don't you? I mean, Gladys was seen off and in New South Wales, and the Tasmanian Premier went, the Northern Territory Chief Minister went, the South Australian Premier lost. So you have had those retirements out of that, which I think you're alluding to. You know, Gutwin and Gunner just said that was enough. I lived through that. So I'm sure he'll talk about that and family and that sort of thing if he is indeed going. But I'm genuinely shocked by it. Look, I didn't discount that Mark McGowan might retire this term. They're long terms, 4 years or whatever. But it seems fairly early in the piece. I guess there's probably, hang on, now that I think about it, around 2 years till the next election, probably around 22 months until the next West Australian election. So you like to give a successor an opportunity, and usually that's seen as 18 months to 2 years to establish themselves and have a run at the job. But I'll tell you who'd be cock-a-hoop about this, Kieran, would be the West Australian Liberals, who would have just seen, expected another smashing at the next election from Mark McGowan. And the WA health system's had immense problems. But McGowan, with his popularity, has seemed to skate through all that. He really has been Mr. Teflon in that state. And the other thing is he only recently, and we were talking about it, travelled to China on a big trip. If it was his intention to stand down, why did he carry on with that, I suppose? Or is it a decision he's only recently made? It's the last sort of WA Premier retirement I can recall was Jeff Gallop. That was over health issues. Usually they're seen out in the metaphorical box premiers of WA. You've seen Carpenter lose an election. You've seen Barnett lose an election. You've seen Richard Court lose an election. So it does say something about a leader who knows they can go on their own terms. The only thing about Mark McGowan is he could have won another election easily and then in a couple of years after that gone on his own terms. But I think you raise a good point there, Kieran, about the dog years, about the strain of managing that COVID period and how 1 year in office must have felt like too. I know that he's lost some senior staff. He obviously lost Ben Wyatt, who'd had enough through managing a government through that period.
The West Australian, you mentioned that earlier, Anthony De Segli, the editor, saying massive news, and the West saying in its copy online that the West Australian understands the Premier will make the announcement at a press conference at 12:45 p.m. That's in, that's less than 20 minutes away now. So we'll have that for you.
And it says he is stepping down, doesn't it? It says McGowan...
Well, it says
may step down.
May step down.
May step down.
The headline is speculation is that he will step down and that the West Australian understands there'll be a news conference that the Premier will make the announcement there. But it's still couched in the terms of speculation, understands he may, but they've got a time for that news conference. So we'll definitely have that one live.
And we'll keep trying to get some more information in relation to that. But... I just feel that if the West Australian's saying it and the editor's saying it, it's got to be happening.
Yeah.
Or, well, they'll have egg on their face and maybe so will I for going with it. But, that is the local paper, the big paper there. They have a view this is occurring. Apparently it's leaked out.
Yeah, maybe one of those rare, as you said, a rare occasion of leaving on the crest of the wave. Andrew Clennell, thank you.